Hello and welcome to Mercurial Gems. We are your gems.
I'm V,
I'm Jen.
and today we're going to be talking about elemental water magic.
Yeah, we felt like this was most appropriate because we are going into the summer season, and usually summer entails some form of water, but we wanted to talk about the inherent wisdom that exists astrologically and elementally and sacredly in ritual and spiritual significance.
And I wanted to share a little bit about beach magic with you because I just really deeply connect to water magic in that way. This can also be done through rivers and lakes, but we are about to embark on a trip to Florida, and so I know we're going to get some beach time in, and I'm really excited, and I wanted to share some of my favorite practices with you.
Yeah, I can start with our astrological link to water because I think it definitely all ends up weaving together to equal more patterns. But our water signs in astrology are going to be Cancer, and we have Pisces, and we have Scorpio. And water elements help to teach us how to ebb and flow with cycles and our emotional experience, and even to lean in deeper into our intuition. So there is always like this deep merge and sinking in with everything that water signs interact with. This is why your water signs just like really blend with the relationships they're in. They have a really hard time letting go of said relationships. They just tend to be all consuming in the ways that they interact with things. But it also shows us the importance of blending in energy. Water doesn't hold boundaries and form the way other signs do. So if you have really strong water signs, you have to end up creating those boundaries in different ways because it doesn't come as instinctual for water signs. And I think water brings up stuff not said that you can see with your eyes, but it's kind of a culmination of unseen feelings and really just merging with other dimensional spaces that kind of exist. They are intuiting every single thing that they interact with. And I don't think we've built a society out very much so that honors kind of the spiritual veil and everything that exists beyond it. So I honestly feel like water does not even get safety and a lot of what their top gifts are astrologically. And if you connect in with more water signs, you open more of a portal to deeper emotional sensing and letting yourself feel and not being so nervous to feel big emotions that water is not anticipating what's coming and then therefore not doing it. They are just going with
The literal
emotions.
flow.
Yep, all the time. So that's the astrological connection. I think it's extra potent that in the summer we have a water sign starting us off, and there is definitely a stronger connection to water as we approach summer.
Absolutely. I remember like summertime coming around and planning my trip to my grandma's pools, because villages, Florida things like
Florida things in general, we were really
yeah,
raised in
beach
water
kids,
a
like
lot
once we
deeper.
all, all your friends start to get their licenses for us kids in this central Florida scene, we would get our license, and whoever got their license, the like big token, like I have freedom now, was like everyone would pile in their car and we'd all go to the beach like every time. It's just like a way of life in the summer is to merge and connect with water. I want to talk about the different ways we can connect to the magic of the water. So, water in itself is such a good energetic cleanser for you. So, on a scientific, like molecular level, water has a bunch of negative ions, and these negative ions, when you either like use a misting spray or take a shower or take a bath or submerge yourself in water in some way, those negative ions actually take excess energy off of your body and off of your aura. and it's just like a really good cleanse. That's why a lot of people will use like a rose water mist spray, because it's like an instant reaction to it. Or even if you've ever been to like a waterfall and you haven't been in the waterfall, but just the mist of it all, like really, I don't know, it gives you like almost like a cup of coffee boost of energy, and it's from those negative ions. So that's a one thing. Specifically speaking, beach magic, I love seashell collecting. It was like one of my favorite things to do growing up. And collecting seashells are such a good form of protection. When I was younger, I used to line all of the windows in my room with all of the seashells that I would collect from the beach. And it was just kind of like a ritual of mine. I would clean them. I didn't even know what magic I was doing at the time. I just knew I really liked them, lining my windows. And I loved cleaning them once a month in water. I would put like salt in water and give them like an ocean bath, because I figured they probably missed the ocean.
That's very autistically sweet.
Thank you. I just take care of my things really well.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing you can do with seashells that you collect is make your own set of runes. So runes is a like form of divination that we don't really talk about a whole lot on the channel, and it's just because Jen and I really haven't delved into the world of rune magic. I have, my best friend is really into runes, so that's like the extent of my knowledge goes there. But I really love the idea. I really love the idea of being super connected to the divination tools that we use, such as like a custom oracle deck, or making runes out of the seashells, or even the river rocks or pebbles that you collect along your way at these like locations that you travel.
And runes are just creating something you can end up reading.
Like these little almost rocks, sometimes they're crystals, sometimes they're shells, and you typically have them in a bag. You ask your guides for an answer to your question, and then you like choose one or two or three at random. And typically, as the same way that tarot or oracle works, the runes that come up are very related to like the situation in which you asked about. That's as good as I got.
The beach is definitely an added element because it really holds like a stronger sensory experience. I even think of just holding like shells up to your ears, but I also think like you're really being able to take in and enhance like every single sense when you're at the ocean. You are hearing the sounds of the waves like very distinctively. You are also getting to feel the sand at your feet, which is a big sensory add-on. The smell of the ocean, that salt water. Yeah, the heat of the sun. It just all really drops you into the present. And that's how I really feel with water, is that it's very like full drop into your body. It creates so much sensory input for me. So as you were talking about, like water has really strong cleansing principles. So not only does the mist and the spray, but think of the times we actually we'll just go to take a shower to like regulate our emotions in the day, even noting like if you're more of a morning shower, evening shower, like what does that mean for your body?
What is your point of like, I need to shower? Like, what does that feel like? And then when you walk out of the shower, I know everyone has that moment of like, oh man.
I'm back. I feel like myself. And yeah, you can set intentions even with taking a shower. I feel like we often will get even stronger intuitive downloads when we are connected with water. So you can have some of your most genius and creative ideas while just taking a shower, just because you are connected a lot more intuitively. But you could also just use what would be just a normal part of your routine, taking a shower, and you can use it as magic by just envisioning the water, just removing anything you don't need, really just sacred exchange of energy. So thanking the water, connecting with it elementally is just honoring and respecting it. V has done some of their best manifestation work with rivers.
I manifested Jen with a river.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was manifesting Jen in my like full honesty, but Jen is what came out of it. I walked around for like a week and a half, and I kept telling everyone the universe is going to bring me a gift after I had completed my like my side of what I said I was going to do in order for the river to bring me gifts. And then, yeah, Jen came into my life. Thanks, River.
So you just kind of immersed yourself into the river and
Oh, yeah.
really set like an
So I
intentional.
made a pact with the river because I kind of hit a breaking point. I had spent the entire summer by this little river. It really was more of a creek, but there's like this mountain creek on Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado Springs. And I really, really merged with it over the summer. I would get off of work. It was 2 minutes from where I was working. I would go hang up my hammock and I would sit there for like almost 4 hours every single day throughout the whole summer. I did a lot of inner child healing out there. And towards the end of the summer, I knew like the cold, cold winter was coming and I wasn't ready to release all of that I was working with the river. So I quite literally laid down in this ice runoff water, which is very cold. And I completely submerged myself. And while I was laying down, I just told the river, like, I'm done trying to swim upstream. I'm going to, when the universe is trying to clear blocks for me, like, I'm going to surrender to that, and allow the river to, like, flow my life in a downstream way of, like, where I need to go instead of constantly trying to go uphill and against the stream. And like if you ever look at a river, you can see like all the river rocks and maybe some branches have fallen in there, so you can see the path of the water isn't just this smooth glide. So I told the river, like, I understand there's going to be, some debris. I have to like learn to flow around, but I got this and I'll surrender. And so the next 2 months from that moment on, I did. Anytime anything came up, I surrendered. I put my full energy into anything that felt very for me, whether it manifested for me in the way I thought it was or not. And anything that was like a block that was actively keeping me from my highest potential as a human being, I, even if it was like a very hard thing to let go of, like actually surrendered in a way that was like from a place of way less fear or like again swimming upstream energy. And it was probably one of the most potent packs I've ever made and all of the magic I've done in my entire life. Another thing that I really like to do, and this one is a little more beach related because you kind of need the waves for it, but when I'm at the beach, the waves in itself are like instant meditation, like trance. But what you can do is while you're focusing on the waves of the ocean, you can either focus on the waves coming in and use that as a calling in what you want, or you can focus on the waves that are trying to escape back into the ocean and use that as a way to release energies that are no longer serving you, or release any blocks that you're finding in your life. And that has also been really helpful for me throughout my life. That was like, I grew up in Florida, so I had beach magic before I had river magic. And so the using the waves to call in and like wish away things that were no longer serving me was such a useful tool in my youth.
Yeah, so if you do not have a carved out space in your home for an altar, we highly recommend that you make a little sacred space in your house. And whenever you're deciding on an altar, you can pick which direction you want the altar to face. That holds even some wisdom in it that you can look into. But another thing is always having a piece of all of the elements on your altar.
Mm-hmm.
So we rotate out different moon waters, and I can talk about that really quick. So anytime like we go to a sacred form of water, we are always collecting things in jars. That's just how it goes. But you also can just take regular water, and when there is energy in the sky, like a new moon is usually more of the time to do it. You can just let that water sit and absorb up that energy, and then use the moon water maybe for your altar, maybe for your plants, maybe to create some of the mists like we were talking about, and you can kind of amplify that energy. Now, I always will pay attention. Full moons typically hold a little bit more chaos behind them because the sun and moon are opposite to each other. There's some full moons that can be really positive, and if you're in a state or a period of time where you're needing extra help releasing something, then capturing that energy is good. you can think of what sign the moon is in. Do you want to harness more of that energy? Do you not necessarily need more of that energy? So pay attention to what the sign's element is, the quality that exists behind the sign. And then you can also always look to see if the moon is more positively aspected or not. Every new and full moon is going to just hold differences where it's not so generalized. So you can kind of use your intuition. And I think capturing moon water is a really additional potent way to use magic.
Yeah, I have some friends that have used moon water and several spells. I have friends that instead of baneful magic, because karmatically that can be a lot to like take on, what they'll do is if someone's like very, for example, I had a coworker one time, and this coworker did not get along with, we'll call her Susie, and Susie just like did things her way all the time and was very in her head, like we'd say like a very unhealed Virgo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this coworker one time collected some full moon water and added Susie's name to a jar and added the full moon water and some herbs that corresponded with what her intention was. And the intention was to, oh, it was Pisces. It was a Pisces full moon. And she wanted the Pisces full moon energy to help Susie see beyond that Virgoan, this is the one and only way to do it, and I am always right because I've decided this is the one and only way to do it. And we watched the water just dissipate in the closed jar over like 3 days, and Susie did end up like shifting a little bit, which was so crazy. But I've seen people use full moon water within spells for, you know, helping other people release blocks.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, so this has just been a few ways to utilize water energy. Obviously, as we drink water, there's a lot of ways you can just nourish and take care of yourself. V likes to sprinkle different things in their water to add in extra magic
And
too.
herbal tea, like it's still water magic. It just has some herbs mixed in.
Yeah, don't ever forget the power of a good tea. Like, that is very important. And just remember, no matter what season you end up watching this, there is always an importance to hold some significance to water in your day to day. If you're not getting enough of it, you also are going to struggle with some of those energies that come with water, which is your intuition and is your emotion.
Our bodies are made up of 75% water, so it is us. We are water.
Mm-hmm. And we really just need that added energetic component that mixes in with it. So just remembering that there's a sacredness that exists within all of the elements. And if you do catch this in the summer, remember that as you're just doing what you probably tend to be called to do in the summer, there is potent magic behind it. That is what our main point was for this episode. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.